story that illustrates some of the important ideas that we've talked about so far in terms of putting together an estimate and refining your estimate over time. Let's say that you're in a situation where you are hoping to put up a new fence around the perimeter of your yard over the course of the weekend. And you can do some of these things in advance. You can figure out how large the yard is going to be, and you can work out that it's going to take 9 posts and 8 panels in between those posts. And you can lay out the spots where they're going to be, and you can figure out that it's roughly going to take some sort of range of how long it's going to take to dig a fence post hole and install a fence post. And you're going to need to let the concrete dry if you anchor them in concrete, and you're going to then put up the panels and you're going to paint. You're going to break down the overall issue into a number of different steps, and you'll come up with your first estimate of how long it's going to take to do that job. And that estimate may say that, yeah, you might be able to do that over the course of the weekend. Saturday morning comes around, you get out there and you start digging a fence post hole, and your first shovel into the ground, you hit a rock. And you dig around and you pull that big rock out, and you find that this yard is just full of rocks. And your first fence post hole that had to be a couple of feet deep to fit the post, and it had to be at least 6 inches around to fit the post and the concrete around it, that took you all morning to dig that hole. That was a 3.5-hour job to do that hole. Well, you've got new information. You can go back to your original estimate, and there's a good chance that your guess at the uncertainty of how long it would take to dig a fence post hole, you might have guessed 30 minutes to an hour for each hole. But lo and behold, you have evidence. You have historical data that says that it took 3.5 hours. It would be even more compelling data if you did 2 holes and you found similar results, and your whole Saturday was shot half the time you expected to work on this thing. Let's go back to our original estimate, where we originally thought that it was going to be half hour to an hour per hole. Now we're looking, optimistically, 2 hours is the minimum we would expect, and we're looking at maybe 4 or 5 as an outside shot. Already, just with that little bit of data, before we've touched any of the other elements that would make up our estimate for the overall job, it's going to blow this weekend right out of the water. And next weekend as well, and probably the weekend after that, the way things are going. We have a better estimate that we can use to make appropriate decisions. So, with this, do we want to continue to struggle and fight? Do we want to go to Home Depot and get a massive bar that we can use to move those rocks out of the way a little better? Or do we want to hire somebody in who's got a backhoe or some other equipment that can just beat those holes to submission a lot faster? It's going to cost us more money, but these are the options that we would have never entertained before we started this. Now we have the information that says, yeah, if we really do want a fence up there and we don't want it to take all summer to do it, then we need to change our thinking about how we're going to tackle this situation. That is a great example of how we can use historical data to refine our estimates as we go. We don't have to wait until we have historical data for future projects. We can use that now for the situation that we're dealing with at the moment.